Hi everybody, it's Pam. I'm sorry I haven't made a video in a while. I was at C2E2 in Chicago, which was a lot of fun, and I'm pretty sure I picked up a really fun bug there. Not like the Enders game kind or the Starship Troopers kind, but the virus kind. And I've been sick, and today is day 10, so that's fun. But I think I have enough of a voice to talk, so we'll do a short video. What I wanted to talk about today was kind of the prejudice that you'll have about a book before you even start it or you really know anything about it. When I was a kid, and my parents can attest to this, I was really stubborn and not wanting to try new things, like really stubborn. I think it took my mom couple months to get me to read Little House in the Big Woods, and then suddenly it was like my favorite book ever. And then I got stuck on something else, and then she'd try and get me to read something else, and then I would be my favorite book ever. But I had to be persuaded because I had these ideas about what things would be like. And I still do that. I would like to think less so than when I was 5, but you never know. And so I picked out 3 young adult books today that are new, that when I started them, I actively wanted to dislike them, and I ended up loving them, which is kind of a nice surprise. The first one is A Wicked Thing by Rhiannon Thomas, and it's a retelling, or it's not really a retelling, it's an extension of the Sleeping Beauty fairy tale. So Sleeping Beauty falls asleep, she gets kissed by a prince, who of course she doesn't know, and they're engaged to get married, and she doesn't want to marry this guy. Like, that's weird. Some guy you've been being kissed by random dudes for like 100 years, and you're expected to be okay with that. So it's a really interesting take on it, and I really loved this Princess Aurora who decided that she wants to be her own person. And it didn't surprise me then to find out that the author, Rhiannon Thomas, writes a feminist blog that talks about girls in fiction. So it's really great. Don't let the cover deceive you. It is a little kind of swoony for me. But authors don't really have a lot of choice about what happens on the covers of their books. So good thing to remember before you tweet them and say, I hate the cover of your book. It is awful. Because they can't really do anything about it. The next one is Razor Hurst by Justine Larbalestier, who is, surprise, married to Scott Westerfeld. And this book is about Depression-era Sydney in Australia, which is where the author is from. And in that time, what the government did is they banned guns. So everybody had straight razors instead, and they would blood spurting, which seems pretty messy to me, but I don't know. That was their choice. And it's about a young girl named Kelpie who's always been really tiny for her age. She's abandoned, and she can see ghosts. But it's not like a Sixth Sense, I see dead people type thing. It's kind of like her curse. She thinks she's the only person who can do it, and they kind of help explain the whole backstory of this madam and who's controlling half of Sydney, and another rich man who's kind of controlling the other half, and in this battle for like the demimonde of Sydney, and how Kelpie tries to escape with Dimphna Campbell, who is one of the top girls in Sydney. You know what I mean? And it's just fantastic look into the life in Sydney at that time. The last book I was really skeptical about because, it's The Ghosts of Heaven by Marcus Sedgwick. Sedgwick won the Printz Honor 2 years ago? 3 years ago. Some years ago for Midwinter Blood. It was 2 years ago. And I did not like that story at all, which is fine. Like, you can read a book and not like it. Like, I didn't like that one. So I started this one, and I had it in a Kindle format, and I just want to read to you what he says in the introduction. The introduction is kind of like a really quick crash course in the development of the universe, but he says, there are 4 quarters to this story. They can be read in any order and the story will work. The 4 quarters are assembled here in just one of 24 possible combinations. This order makes one kind of sense, but the reader should feel free to choose a different order and a different sense, if desired. So it's kind of like a mix and match, make your own story novel, which is interesting. And it's all about the pervasiveness of the spiral in human life and in life in general. The first section is a novel in verse. The second part is about witch hunts in England. The third is kind of an asylum in the United States in the early 1900s. And the last one is like a far future space opera type setting. And each time I started a section, I was like, I'm going to hate this. I'm going to hate it. And then I start reading and be like, oh, this is so good. And especially with the space opera section, because that's a genre that I read a lot of in adult sci-fi, I was like, he should just let Alistair Reynolds write this stuff because it's not going to be good. And it blew me away. So, this is kind of like a sleeper hit, at least for me. And I really recommend it. So, it's good to try things, even from authors who's maybe they're blah, 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 blah. Sorry. Dayquil. Whose works you haven't really enjoyed before, because each work is its own entity and will connect with you in a different way. So that was my kind of rambly thoughts on books that you thought you'd hate but didn't. And I encourage you to check out any or all of these books at the library. Of course, they're free. And I'll see you next time.